being here today. Quickly to recap the Idaho State game, after having an opportunity to watch the film, I think that the storyline for us was missed opportunities. Whether that was the field goals that we didn't take advantage of opportunities on. At one point in time, we had a 14-play, 93-yard drive. We took the ball down to the 4-yard line. We were penalized for illegal shift, went backwards on that. Got a procedure penalty on the next play. Didn't end up converting on third down and then missed a field goal. I mean, that's, you got an opportunity to go, first and goal from the 4-yard line and you end up missing a field goal 3 plays later. That's I guess, kind of what I mean by those missed opportunities. Just really frustrating, whether that was drop passes, opportunities to really kind of blow the game open. We had a chance to go up 14-0, didn't convert on a corner route, and 2 plays later missed a field goal. So, you're thinking, hey, 2-score lead, this is pretty good in the first quarter against this team. And then you end up with no points. You're thinking, at the very least, we're going to be up 10-zip. And Tristan just struggled. He had a tough day kicking the ball, and he's, obviously he's been a great player for us this year, and I think he'll bounce back quickly. But I think that was really the storyline there from an offensive perspective. From a defensive perspective, I can't say enough about the job that our defensive staff did. I think Ty and Mark and Byron and Kyle, I mean, they confused this kid. There's no doubt in my mind. We played a ton of post safety defense. He didn't know exactly where the corners safeties were going to roll. We rolled away from formations at times, which I think created confusion for him. I think he thought pressure was coming and was trying to get the ball out quickly and would duck and run. We wadded up the run game. They had a couple of pop runs in the first drive, and other than that, we really did a nice job up front of leveraging blocks and getting off blocks. I thought our linebackers played as well as they played all year. Michael Jobman had his best game as a Bobcat, without question. And then I think you look at guys like Greg Filer, who's matched up on the Guller kid all night. And I guess the one deep ball that he caught, I think, was probably disputed. So I think that was a heck of a job by that kid to be put in that situation, and probably even equally as impressive, if not even more impressive. They couldn't get Michael Dean going because Jalen Cole was tracking him. And so they went to putting him in the backfield, getting into some 20 personnel looks, and he's an explosive, dynamic player, but those are 2 of the better offensive players in this league, and for Jalen and Munchie to be able to match up against those guys and really kind of negate their ability to change the game, because they've thrived so much on explosive game plays. I mean, you're talking about a team that was averaging 544 yards a game coming in, top 5 in the FCS, top 2 in the Big Sky Conference, and we held them under 400 yards total offense. And so we outgained them. We had more plays than they did. We had more first downs than they did. We took the ball away more than we gave it away, but we didn't convert on red zone opportunities. And so that was kind of the game. And now we turn our attention to a team that I think is playing its best football right now. I think Cal Poly's really on a roll offensively. I mean, shoot, you look at that NAU game, I think there was 5 consecutive drives where they went down and scored. Prothro is a stud. I mean, I don't know, he's like 32 years old, and he's playing like an 18-year-old again. I mean, you can tell he's kind of got a renewed sense of urgency about what he does. I mean, he's 5'11", 230, bowling ball guy. He's going to be really, really hard to tackle. It looks like you're getting him for a 1-yard gain. They got 5 yards. It's just that frustrating style. Jenkins is really operating the offense at a very high level. They will spread you out some. The Koski kid, their wide receiver, the primary target at wide receiver, I think is a really good player. Not just at wide receiver, but he does a really good job as a punt returner as well. And, they've got their wings that are kind of a variety of different guys there. Some of them are more blocking guys, some of them are more quick guys. Number 1 is a guy that they'll scheme some things for to get him on the edge. And so we got to play tremendously disciplined with our eyes on the defensive side of the ball, do a really good job of fitting their base run game, and understand that they are going to get their yards. I mean, that's what they're going to do. They're going to get their yards. They're going to kind of try to bleed you out. Defensively, kind of an interesting deal, because I think they're a pretty good defense. They're multiple front. They play a decent amount of 3 and 4 down front. Really like their safeties. They're very aggressive in the pass game, or in the run game rather. They'll get down in the box quickly. They mix coverages well. Linebackers are good and aggressive. D-line is active. They move a lot. They're not overly big. They'll bring a little bit more pressure perhaps than some of the teams that we played in recent weeks. And I think their corners can cover. And that's probably what allows them to do some of those things. They'll just kind of try to lock those guys down on the edge with their corners, and then they'll, dive those safeties down into the run game. And then on special teams, they got a solid kicker. He's 7-8 on field goals. I mentioned the Koski kid again. He had a couple of pretty good punt returns last week to set him up on short fields against NAU. And they're really good on kickoff coverage. I think that's probably, you always kind of talk about the heartbeat of a team, watch them cover kicks, and they do a great job covering kicks. And I think they'll be excited to play. And, it's going to be a challenge for us. So that's kind of the deal there. Take any questions.
Aside from the missed opportunities offensively, I mean, could you have asked for a much better night? I mean, considering, first-time play caller and, some new wrinkles.
Yeah, we could ask for a better night. But I was proud of Matt and the job that he did. And I told our offensive players and staff that yesterday. I put you in a tough situation a week ago on Sunday by making a choice to make a change, and everybody kind of had to elevate their level of preparation and pitch in and do a little bit extra work on that side of the ball from a staff standpoint. And I think our players were awesome. I think we were much more willing to push the ball down the field consistently, even though we really only hit one of the shots. I think that allowed some of our run game to stay productive because they couldn't just commit 8-9 guys every single down. I thought Troy was really good on his intermediate and pocket movement stuff, and was as accurate as he's been. And so I think, really compliment Troy for his preparation this week. Had the one throw I'm sure he'd like to have back. But other than that, I thought he operated both decision-making wise in the run game and the pass game very, very well. And I think a lot of that, clearly goes to Matt putting the time in and putting a game plan together that was going to be something that we could have success with.
In those long, sustained drives, I think there were 4 drives of 10 or more plays. How much hope does that give you, going forward as far as, we can move the ball?
Yeah, a big part of our game plan, when you play an explosive, hey, if you'd have told me we were going to hold these guys under 400 yards and 24 points, I'd have said, I'll take it. I wouldn't even care. I'm good. Let's not play the game. Going in, we felt like we needed to sustain drives and keep their offense off the field. That was certainly a part of the recipe for success for us in this game. And I don't think it's any different really this week. Because if they're going to hold the ball, that's what they're going to do. They're going to have a 2-minute 3-and-out. They're going to use every second of the play clock. They're going to look back to the sideline and see what you're playing defensively and try to get themselves in the best possible play. And so you've got to maximize your possessions. And so that, our ability to continue drives, and, we went forward on 4th down. We're a little bit more aggressive on some of our first down calls, knowing that we were probably going to be in 4-down territory. But so are they. They go forward a ton on 4th down as well. And so I think it's very, very much something to keep an eye on. They lead the Big Sky Conference in 3 statistical categories. Rushing offense, obviously, red zone offense. They get in the goal line area, they're almost impossible to stop. They're, I think, 94% in the red zone scoring. They have 1 missed field goal. That's all they have all year. And then time of possession is almost 35 minutes, 34 minutes and 56 seconds. And so that's a huge deal in terms of their style. And it can be very frustrating to go against because, you're sitting on the sideline waiting for your opportunity. And, boy, if you don't maximize it, you're going to be, putting the defense back out there again. And so we've got to, do a good job of putting drives together this week as well.
How has Greg Filer progressed throughout the season?
I think he's just really, the first word that comes to mind when I think about Greg, he is grateful for the opportunity. I think that so many times, kids will come from either, Power 5 program and drop down to the FCS, or come from a junior college and think that, hey, I'm going to be the man. And, Greg has worked for everything that he's gotten here. And he has, spent extra time with Coach Orfeh in terms of learning our system. He was really a guy at Compton College. It was like, all right, you got that guy, cover him. There wasn't a whole lot of zone concepts that they played, and so you can see that he's a very good man-to-man guy, and he's developing into a better zone player. He's a skinny guy, but he's a willing tackler. He's got good length, he's got good speed. I just think that his willingness to open up his heart to coaching and to this team and to Bozeman, Montana, has really had a huge part in his success this year. Is just his mindset and his mentality that I'm coming here to be a contributor to this program, and whatever the coaches ask me to do, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to announce my presence. I'm going to work hard and earn respect of my teammates.
What makes Joe Prothro different than some of the dive fullbacks that are in traditional triple option schemes?
I don't know. You know, I mean, he's like I said, he's listed at 5'11", 230. He looks taller than that to me. I don't know why, but he looks like he's more of a 6'1" guy. You know, but all those backs are more compact. They're usually that 5'10", 220, 225. He's a little bit of a long strider, a little bit more upright runner than a lot of like what you call academy fullbacks, you know. And so I think that's a little bit unique. He's just got a great feel for it. I mean, how many times do you think he's run that play? I mean, he's carried the ball 252 times this year, and he's a sixth-year senior, right? I mean, he's been there forever. And then think about the practice reps. I mean, he's just got an unbelievable feel for finding that crease, and no matter how you play it. And there's only so many ways that you're going to play. I mean, here's the option book, and here's how to defend the option, right? And so you're only going to see 3 or 4 different ways to do that. And within, you know, one of the chapters in the option book is how to beat the 4-down look, how to beat the 3-down look, how to beat the diamond look, and he's seen them all. And so, you know, as soon as he's probably telling the quarterback, hey, this is where we need to go if they do this, and he's just got a good feel for it.
Can you draw on that game against Kennesaw from last year going into this week?
I'm sure they will. I mean, you know, that's the only true triple option team that we played. There are a lot of similarities. I mean, there are. Yeah, it's the only thing that I think is maybe a little bit different. Here's the deal. I think the Jenkins kid is a better pure athlete than the kid that played from Kennesaw. Kennesaw's kid, I mean, you could tell that guy played in the same system in high school, in the same system in college. And I mean, he didn't look to the sideline. Like the chess match was between our coaching staff and him. You know, on Saturday, the coaching staff from Cal Poly, the Jenkins is going to stand up and look over to the sideline, and they're going to give him the play, and then he's going to run it. And so that's probably the biggest difference is just, you know, there's the kid from Kennesaw last year. I mean, he just it was his game to call. I mean, and he did a great job. You know, he knew every time we stemmed, he would recheck. I don't know that they're going to have time to do that. They can't stand up, look over to the sideline, change the play. We stem. They can't do that. They're going to run up against the play clock. And so that's probably the biggest difference. And then Cal Poly, this kid's a better passer. Jenkins is a good passer. I mean, he's not just a runner. He can throw, and he throws. Obviously, they don't throw a lot, but when they do, they're very efficient and calculated when they do that, and they get a lot of explosive plays out of their pass game. And they'll open the set more than what we saw against Kennesaw State.
How important is the linebacker depth, and where is some of the status of Cano, Hadley, Chapman? Are those guys healthy, and how important is that depth right now?
Chapman's been playing for us on special teams the last couple of weeks. You know, really, this last week we primarily played nickel and Bronco, which is our base D line and nickel secondary, and so that was our Sam linebackers really weren't a factor in that particular situation. The week before we had moved Braden Conkle down to the Sam against Weber State. Right now, I think Jacob's going to be out indefinitely with a shoulder, and Chad probably the same. So Ballou's fine. You know, he'll play this week. We're going to have to get something out of Daniel Hardy, and the thing that's awesome about Daniel right now is, you know, kind of drinking out of a fire hose. Had only played 2 years of football, one at a lower level high school, one at a junior college, and he got here, and now you can see him starting to make plays on special teams, uses athleticism, that type of thing, and that usually means that they're about ready to go. And so he'll have to play some for us this week. And, you know, the inside linebacker spot, I think it's going to, you know, you're going to see Grant getting spelled by his cousin Cal, and kind of a combination of Michael Jobman, Taden Gilman, and Walker Cozy at the will.
Where has Jobman improved? You mentioned that he played his best game. Where has he improved the most? Because it's been a little hit or miss the first.
Yeah.
You know,
He knows what he's seeing, and he reacts appropriately now. I mean, I don't think he had any idea what he was looking at initially. You moved him from the edge to the inside, and he played inside in high school, but I don't think that's a real, you're going from Huntley to Montana State. That was, you know, there's a lot more stuff to look at for him. And I think he also really learned how to prepare. I mean, that's the biggest difference that I've seen. And I've seen Michael up there a lot more in the film room on his own, taking more diligent notes, asking the right questions, not just, you know, watching film to see who their good players are, but watching film to see what the keys are and what their formation tendencies are. And so I think his preparation is the biggest difference. I think, quite honestly, he was probably a little bit embarrassed about how he played early in the season. He's a prideful young man and wanted to do better. And the work that he's put in has allowed him to do that. And you can see him playing faster, being more confident, triggering at the line of scrimmage, all the things that good linebackers do.
Lewis Kidd kind of opened up to me about all the things he's gone through the last couple of years. You know, just kind of, what are your thoughts on, you know, how he's handled everything that's, you know, kind of been thrown his way in terms of, you know, his family and everything?
Yeah, so you're talking primarily about his mom's illness?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Lewis is one of that. he's one of the happiest kids on our team. I mean, it's a rare day that you don't walk by him and, no matter what your expression or your body language is, he gives you a big smile. And it's hard not to, just it's infectious, and I know how important his mother is to him. And, she's here as much as she can be, and he gets back to the Tri-Cities, or Twin Cities rather, to see her as much as he can. I know this because, well, I probably should go to church. I don't make it on Sunday mornings, but I know when my in-laws are in town, they're in town for every home game, and so they go down to church, and right across the street, and Lewis is in the pew behind him, and just an awesome kid, and I think his faith is very important to him. I know his family is very important to him. He's just a well-grounded young man. He's a great roommate. He's a great teammate. He's a great student. Wants to go into education, which I think is awesome. I don't think there's enough young men like him that, can you imagine? Having that guy as a teacher, it'd be awesome. Big hair, big personality. I just think he's going to do great, and I know he loves his mom with all his heart, and I know it's been a challenge for him at times, but he always has a positive attitude, and so does she. And so I think those are the things that pull you through in difficult situations. We talk a lot on our team about problems versus real problems. Okay, I know we got to win games. That's not a real problem. Okay, your mom having cancer, that's a real problem. And how you respond to those real problems are going to define you as a man, and this proving ground that we have an opportunity to have a part in terms of the competitive nature of this game, and how much time, energy, effort, and self-esteem is driven from it is a good way for these guys to process that and understand this is difficult and challenging, and how do we overcome this? How do we improve? How do we take that next step so that we can experience success again? But those lessons carry over into other areas of life, and you got to process it from a point of view of, like I said, problems versus real problems.
Jacob Hadley, you mentioned he's probably out indefinitely. He just had such a hard time, staying on the field throughout his career here.
Yeah.
So how is he feeling right now?
He's down. He's down. He's wants to be out there with his teammates. Worked really hard to come back from the knee. The year before, worked really hard to come back from the wrist surgery. To have something again that's, it's not going to be, I don't think, as serious as those two, but it is going to prevent him from probably playing in the near future. And, again, another guy that just, I think, has his priorities squared away and wants to be a guy that helps our team, and we want him to be a guy that helps our team as well. And so it's just unfortunate. And, injuries are part of the game. I mean, James Campbell, I didn't even mention him, but, he didn't play last week either. That guy came here, had a knee deal right when he first got here, then his tonsils, couldn't figure out what's wrong with him, couldn't gain weight, was always sick, ended up taking his tonsils out, gets a little bit better, then he does his thumb last spring, so, these guys, you have to be resilient and you have to be tough to play this game, period. And I'm not just talking about Montana State, I'm talking about anywhere. To play Division I football, you have got to be resilient. I tell all of our guys this all the time. The number one thing that will lead to success for you is perseverance. If you quit, you will not succeed. And it's easy to say, you know what, I hurt, this is hard, it's cold, things aren't going our way. See so many people that just drop by the wayside. Pay attention to the ones that stick it out. I tell businessmen, anybody, to pay attention to the ones that stick it out. Those are the foxhole guys. Those are the guys that you want in your organization, in your family, in your church, your community, your business. Pay attention to the ones that stick it out. And guys like Jacob, they'll be fine. They'll stick it out. James Campbell, they'll stick it out. They're tough guys.
3 or 4 weeks of pretty smash mouth football. I know I would say it's a little bit different, but still a tough game. So 4 weeks in a row, kind of capping it with Cal Poly. How do you hope your team rises to another challenge in such a physical game?
Yeah, we're like everybody else in the country right now. We've got some nicks and bruises, and we've kind of had a little stretch of some unfortunate things happening to some guys, but I don't know. I asked Zach Wright this yesterday, in the team room. I was like, what do you want to go against? You want to go against, a team that's going to throw the ball 80 times a game, or you want to go up against a team that's going to challenge you as a man and say, let's go? And Zach just kind of smiled and said, well, let's go. I like this kind of party. Let's go. And so, I don't know. I can just equate it to myself. And this is going to sound weird to say, you know, especially from a guy as old as I am, but this is the things that I remember about the game. I remember waking up and feeling like I could not get out of bed on Sunday morning. I mean, I remember feeling that way. By Tuesday, my young body felt okay. By Saturday, I was good, and then you did it again. And quite honestly, that's how I knew I was alive on Sunday, was that I hurt that much. And that's the unique thing about this game. I mean, these guys, you know, their bodies don't feel right, but there's kind of something, I don't know what the right word is, but there's something gladiatorial about it. There's something, I mean, it's like almost like a human instinct. You know, you need to feel that sometimes, and our guys will be fine. They'll embrace that.
How challenging is it playing a team like Cal Poly at this time of year with that style?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd like to have them coming off a bye week or early in the season where you can spend some time, you know, working on their specific style. By the nature of what they do, it doesn't allow you to do a lot. You have to be pretty concise. You can't have too many calls. You got to make sure that your call sheet is tight. You get a lot of reps at the different looks that you're going to see and those kind of grooved calls that you're going to run on Saturday. And so, you know, that's clearly why Coach Walsh runs this system, because it's different. And everybody has to prepare for something that is different. And it's not like you're seeing inside zone and you know, curl concepts on the outside. I mean, you're going to play something that's very unique. And I think that's, you know, one of the reasons why you see the academies run it, one of the reasons why you see a place like Cal Poly, high academic institution, highly competitive to get in. You know, and I think Coach Walsh has done an awesome job. I mean, they had a tough year last year, lost their quarterback early in the season, had to transition to some things, and they're playing really good football right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with kind of, you know, they've stuck with the plan on offense, and they're playing at a high level there.
A couple of the guys mentioned after the game that, you know, playoffs might now be out of reach, but, you know, you can still get a winning season, so there's still a lot to play for, right? I mean,
yeah, well, I mean, play for the next game. I mean, that's, I told the guys yesterday, so I don't know, hey, crazier things have happened. I think you win that game, you win out, you probably control your own destiny to a certain degree, because if you get to 8 wins, you're probably in. Now we don't control our own destiny. Last year, I think there were 2 6-win teams and 3 7-win teams that made the playoffs from the FCS. But we don't, I mean, that's not our focus right now. I mean, what we've got to focus on is beating Cal Poly, getting this taste out of our mouth. You know, go 1-0 this week. That's what we've got to do. And so, yeah, we had a brief conversation about that, but we moved forward quickly and talked about what the mission is right now. And the reality is we're a 500 ball club. You know, we've dropped 2 in a row. I knew going into this season, this 3-game stretch was going to be a bear. You know, you go Idaho and then back-to-back road games against the defending conference champions. And I kind of knew Idaho, you know, when you looked at it and you saw they had 9 of 11 starters returning on offense, they basically returned everybody on deep. You knew they were going to be a good team. And that's kind of the way this league works. A lot of times it seems like you got your teams maybe at the top that are able to sustain success, but you're always going to have that team that has that veteran group of guys that kind of bumps up in a given year. And really felt like with the quarterback, Idaho State was going to be one of them. And so, you know, we needed to go 2-1 in that stretch to really put ourselves in a position to control some things down the stretch, and we didn't do that. We were 1-2, and played 3 really good football teams, 3 competitive games, and now we've got to go do it again. And so, you know, nobody cares about our problems. Most people are happy we have them.
Sorry, I didn't know.
No, you're okay.
So, how do you guys move on from dropping 2 in a row, especially when you guys get to come home for 2 more?
Yeah, I think you focus you have to be honest. You have to look at, hey, here's what we did well, here's what we didn't do well, here's who we are, here's where we are, and then you've got to you hit the reset button, and you got to say, okay, now here's the next challenge, here's the next opportunity that you have, and here's what we have to do to be able to have success. I think you know, positive people don't dwell on negative things. You've got to look at them from an honest perspective. You've got to own the mistakes that you made, and then you've got to be able to say, okay, here's where we're going now, and I've got a little bit more experience doing that around here than I'd like. But our guys will be ready to play.
What's unique about how Tristan Bailey kind of trains throughout the week?
You're gonna have to ask Tristan Bailey. I don't really know what Tristan Bailey does most of the time. I think, you know, BJ spends a ton of time with those guys. I mean, they have more time on their hands than anybody, and so sometimes it's really just about not over kicking. I think that's one of the biggest things that they have to do is kind of know their body, know what works for them, know kind of what their pitch count is, so to speak, stay engaged mentally. throughout the course of practice, chip in, do some other things. He's actually a weight room guy. Not a lot of kickers are, but you can tell he doesn't look like a lot of kickers, and so, he enjoys getting in the weight room, and he does a good job taking care of his body.
What might Logan Jones be able to provide now that he's got back?
Well, and I never ever thought I would ever say this ever about Logan Jones, okay? Leadership is one of the things that he's going to provide in our running back meeting room. And that kid has come a long way. I mean, a long way. I basically told him, don't bother coming back from Flathead this summer a couple years ago, and ended up not having a scholarship back. And I give the kid a lot of credit. I do. Most guys would have said, the heck with it, I'm going to walk away, and probably point their finger at me and say it was my fault. And I think he's such a better person because he's pushed through that, and he really has great perspective. And he's now the old dog in that room, and there's a lot of young guys, and he really is a good leader. He pays attention to what the coaching points are. He knows how practice should operate. He's encouraging those guys even when he wasn't putting the pads on. And he's a great special teams player. He was our special teams player of the year a year ago. Brings a lot to the table. And just being able to know that we've got a guy besides Isaiah that we're not trying to redshirt like we are with Lane, that we can go to, and he's going to be able to operate the system. He's going to be able to, provide us a little bit of a spark. He's got fresh legs. So, I think there's a lot of assets to getting him back here down the stretch.
And what were the root, I don't know how much you can get into it, but what was the root of some of his issues before?
I think just immaturity. I think that's like a lot of guys that, it's about, hey, you want to make a choice to be here training with your team over the summer, or you want to be, on the Flathead having a good time, and that's one of the sacrifices you make, Doesn't mean you can't have a good time on the Flatheads. It just means you got to do it over those 4 days that you got over the 4th of July, and then get your tail back here and get to work. And so I think that was really the biggest piece with him, was just, a lot of young guys are selfish. They see everybody else doing this stuff and they want to do it. And you got to be different if you're going to do what we ask you to do. Good? All right, thank you.